Hi scholars, welcome to this week's art lesson. Today we're going to be doing a project called Dreamland. I am so excited. This is one of my favorite projects of the whole year because I get to see what you guys think would be the best dreamland in the whole world. We're going to answer the question, how do we create space or depth in an artwork? Depth means how deep or far something is. So in space, how far away is it from you? So how do we create that? The reason this question is so important is because it's going to help us make our artwork look more realistic. So today you're going to need your colored pencils from your educational backpack if you have those. If you don't, that's okay. Regular pencil will work just fine. I've actually made an entire Dreamland before using just regular pencils. This was a football Dreamland. You can see everything is pretty much about football. Okay, you're also going to need 2 pieces of paper. One, because we're going to learn some different techniques on how to create artwork that looks more realistic, and you'll need another paper to kind of plan and dream, because today will just be our first lesson on the Dreamland. It's a big lesson. All right, I'm so excited to get started. So if you want to press pause and go grab those materials, I'm actually going to do the whole lesson on this video. There won't be a second video. So you'll need all your materials, your pencils, your paper. Okay, once you have your materials, we're ready to go. If you are in the 3rd or 4th grade, you might have seen this piece of paper before. Very exciting. Because I won't be able to hand this piece of paper to you, I'm going to help you create this paper by just using a blank piece of paper. So all you're going to do is get a blank piece of paper. I taped it to a whiteboard so that way I can draw on it. You can either use your regular pencil or a color pencil, totally up to you. And you're going to make a line down the middle, doesn't need to be perfect, just somewhere down the middle, and a line across the page. So go ahead and do that. Doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, once you've done that, we are going to put a number 1 in the first corner. And what I want you to write is size, S-I-Z-E. And then you can draw a line under size if you want to, just like this. We are going to figure out how can we use size to show space or depth in an artwork to make our artwork more realistic. So how can we use size to do that? So some people may already have a good idea, and if you do, you can get really creative with your drawing. If you don't know, that's okay, I'm about to show you. So let's pretend Miss Armstrong's video is an artwork. We have 2 Christmas ornaments because Miss Armstrong already put up her Christmas tree. I'm going to put one ornament way in the back of the picture in the camera. And I'm going to put one ornament right up in front. What we're going to do, and you can do this with anything in your house, is we are going to close one eye and use our thumb and our pointer finger to measure how big each object is. So in our frame, I have one ornament really close and one that's far away, and we're going to measure them. So let's see, if I measure, this ornament is about this big, and the ornament in the back is about that big. So which ornament's bigger, the one that's closer or the one that's farther away? The one that's closer is bigger because my fingers are open wide. Whereas in the back, it's kind of getting really small. So you can look around your house and see what things are big, maybe they're really close to you, and what things are small, super far away. So in an artwork, the way that we use size to show that something is closer to us is we draw it bigger. To show that something is further away, we draw it smaller. So let's do that now. I am going to use a tree because that's what I always use, and it is really easy to draw. If you want to try something else and pause the video, that's okay, but I'm going to do it quickly. So I'm going to first draw my tree. I'm just going to do a triangle, really simple, and a square. There's my simple tree. I am going to label. Don't forget to label. Say label, label, label. I can't hear you. Say label, label, label. Label. I'm going to label this tree close, just like that. I labeled my big tree close. Now, in order to show that a tree is farther away, do I need to draw it bigger or smaller? Smaller. So I'm going to draw a smaller tree And I'm gonna draw it way in the back. And what did I forget to do? Label, label, label. I'm gonna label this tree far. So that is our first technique we're going to use to make our artwork look more realistic. We are going to make things that are close to us big and things that are far away small. Okay, if you need to pause the video and use some more time, go ahead. If you're ready to move on, I want you in the next box to draw number 2, and I want you to write overlapping. O-V-E-R-L-A-P-P-I-N-G. Again, if you need more time, press pause. If you think you can do that, there's the spelling. Go ahead, write it in. So how can we use overlapping to make our artwork look more realistic? Oops, I can move my ornament now. Okay, we are actually going to use markers to show this part, okay? So in my artwork here, my frame of my video, I'm gonna have a book. I'm also going to have a marker, and I have a little game for you. So I'm gonna hold my book here, and I'm gonna hold my marker here. What color is my marker? You have no idea, right? The reason you don't know is because my book is overlapping the marker. So if I move the book, now what color is my marker? It's red. You know that, but if the book is in front of it, even a little bit, you don't know what color my marker is. So when something is in front of something else, you can't see part of it, that's overlapping. So we are going to draw overlapping on our worksheet. What I'm gonna do to draw overlapping is just use some sports balls. I might use a basketball and maybe a tennis ball. If you wanted to try something else to show overlapping, maybe you wanted to draw shoes or water bottle, I don't know, something else, that's totally fine, but I am going to use sports balls. So the first sports ball I'm going to draw is going to be in front, so I'm going to draw the whole thing. It's not a perfect circle, but it's okay. I'm going to make my first ball a basketball. And there's my basketball. The second sports ball I'm going to draw, we're not going to see the whole thing. It's going to be partly behind my basketball. So I know that I need to draw only part of that ball. If my lines overlap, it doesn't look realistic. If my lines go over. So you want to erase any lines that go over. We want this to look super realistic, because if there was a basketball in front of my tennis ball, you would only see part of it. So I'm actually going to color in the other ball. We'll pretend it's a tennis ball, so we'll give it some white lines. Okay. And the trick to doing overlapping correctly is to make sure that you don't see any of the object that's behind the first object. So let me just color it all in so it's really clear to see. So I hope you guys are drawing with me. If you want to press pause and give yourself some more time, you can. If you feel like you have enough time, that's okay. So I have a basketball that's in front of, now it doesn't really look like a tennis ball. Let's call it a golf ball. Okay, you cannot see this part of the ball because it's behind the basketball. Okay, if you draw your basketball and your golf ball like this, that looks a little bit less realistic and it doesn't show space and depth in an artwork. So try your best to draw something like that. All right, if you need to pause the video for more time, go ahead. If you're ready to move on, we're gonna move on. The third one is very cool. So we're gonna draw 3 here. I want you to write value and color. And I'm just gonna draw a line. This is how you spell value and color. VALUE/COLOR. Value and color. And we're gonna use another example. I'm actually gonna take this off for just a second. Actually, I can do it right on here. And I'm going to show you how things that are closer to us are really, really bright. This was hard for Miss Armstrong to find objects to show you, but when things are very close to you, they're really bright and you can see the color really, really well. And as things get further in the back, they start to fade. Kind of how at school, when we look out of the window by Miss Armstrong's classroom, some days you can see the Hollywood sign and some days you cannot because it gets really hard to see when it's foggy and smoggy. So this is what it's gonna look like. So I'm gonna use mountains to show value and color and how we can make our artwork look more realistic. So we know our mountain in the front, because of size, is gonna be really big. It's close to us. It's also going to have a lot of value and color. So I'm gonna give my mountain some shading. Doesn't need to be perfect. We're just gonna try our best. I'm just gonna give my mountain in the front some value. So I shaded it in. Now the mountains behind it are going to get a little bit harder to see. So I'm just using upside down the letter V. That's it. That looks like a mountain. I'm going to draw one behind and another one behind. Now these you can still see. They're not too far away, so I'm going to give them a little bit of value. Not as dark as the mountain that's right up close. And this works the same for value that Miss Armstrong's doing with the pencil, and also color. The colors will be really, really bright up front, but when we're using our color pencils, as they get farther away, they'll get really, really, really hard to see. Let me show you an example. So here's an example of one of Miss Armstrong's Dreamlands. In the front, the gray and the tree and the rock, it's really, really bright. But as it gets farther, farther away, that green tree starts to get really faded. So that's an example of value and color in our artwork. Okay, behind these mountains, I'm gonna draw tiny mountains that are a little bit harder to see. We can still see them, but it's very, very hard to see them because they're getting farther away or deeper in space. And then behind these mountains, I'm gonna just draw the faintest little lines because we know there's mountains there, but we can't really see them. They don't have enough value. They're way too hard to see. So in order to show value and color in an artwork, you want to go ahead and practice this. If you need to press pause and practice, go ahead. If you're ready to move on, the last one we're going to do, number 4, our 4th technique to show space or depth in an artwork is detail. Say detail. D-E-T-A-I-L. Detail. You may have heard of detail when your teachers are telling you to write something about a story and they say, tell me more detail, give me more details. It's the same thing in artwork. So when you want more detail, actually, I was just about to give away the secret. Here we go. Let's get started on our detail. So Miss Armstrong actually gets to put a little dot on her finger for this part. Let me find my marker. Here it is. Okay. So Miss Armstrong drew a dot on my finger. That's a detail. A dot on my finger. As I move my finger, or not my finger, my hand, as I move my hand away, that dot or that detail gets very hard to see. So when you can't see that dot anymore, I want you to raise your hand. I have some sparkles on my hand from that ornament. So there's my dot. You can see it. It's really close to you. In our picture frame, that dot is right up next to you. You can see the detail. Raise your hand when you can't see the dot anymore. Oh, it's getting really hard to see. Really hard to see. I can't see it anymore, can you? So when things move farther away in a picture, you can't see them very well. You can't see the details. You can't see the wrinkles on Miss Armstrong's head if she goes way back, but if I'm up close, you can see those wrinkles. So when you have detail, is there more detail when something's up close or far away? I want you to think. Is there more detail up close or farther away? There's more detail up close. We can see the detail right here. So in order to show detail in an artwork, we are going to draw a stream or a river. And the way we're going to do this is from the center of this line. All you're going to do is draw one line down to the front and another line down to the front. So our river is going to look like this. At the front of the river, it's bigger because we know size. When things are closer to us, they're bigger, and when they get farther away, they're smaller. So this will be the back of our river. It's really hard to see. In the front of our river, we're going to have a fish. You can draw a fish by just drawing an oval and a triangle. Very easy fish, okay? Now, what are some details I want you to think? What are some details that we could see on a fish that's way, way, way up close to us? Maybe we'll see an eyeball. Maybe we'll see some scales. Maybe that fish will have a fin. Maybe some patterns on it, or maybe it has some glitter. Maybe a mouth. So our fish up close, he has lots and lots of details. Now, how about in the middle of our river? We already know that the fish is going to get smaller because size, they get smaller as they go back. So I'm going to draw it a little smaller. What else do we know? We won't see as much detail, right? So, Miss Armstrong forgot to do something very important in both of these pictures, but we're going to come back to it. This fish in the middle, maybe you'll be able to see his eye and his smile and his fin, but maybe you can't see his scales because he's too far away, right? Because of value and color too, Miss Armstrong should probably take some of this value away and make him look a little bit more faded, yeah? Now, what if there was a fish all the way back here? It might be even hard to tell that he has a fin. Maybe. He should be super pale because we know that things that get farther away from us have less value. It's harder to see the detail. And maybe the fish back here, they just look like dots because they're hard to see. Now, Miss Armstrong forgot to do something in here. In here, what did I forget to do? I forgot to label. So I am going to label this fish close and this fish far. Now, if you need to press pause and do that, go ahead. If not, Miss Armstrong's going to come back to her label here. This mountain that's nice and bright or has a lot of value is going to be close. And the one in the back is far. And what about the basketball and the golf ball? What do we think? Which one's close and which one's far? The basketball is close because it's in front. And the golf ball will be far. So by the end of this drawing, you should have number 1, size, number 2, overlapping, number 3, value and color, and number 4, detail. These are 4 techniques we're going to use in our artwork to make our artwork more realistic, to show space or depth in our artwork. So if you need to pause the video and finish these up, go ahead. I'll hold it here so you can press pause. If you're ready to move on, we're going to move on. This is the next exciting part about this artwork is we get to dream and create our dreamland. So before we do that, I'm going to show you some dreamlands that I've made in the past. This is my very first dreamland I ever made. Miss Armstrong had, it's called, this was my Swedish fish river. So you can see all my Swedish fish and they're really bright and red and they get super faded in the back of my river. My river has icy mountains in the background because Miss Armstrong loves to be cold. And it has lots of trees because I love fresh air and being outside. Miss Armstrong loves shoes, so I had a shoe farm. I have a chocolate log cabin because I love chocolate. I had some sort of farm over here because I love vegetables and fruits. I have a little campfire and chairs at the front because I wanted to add some details. So that was my first land I made. My land that I made in the spring is a little bit different. It has the ocean, it has the beach, it has a pizza house, it's called snowy slopes, some places to snow. It looks like a lollipop forest, that's what it says, lollipop forest, and they get super faded in the background. And I have a big garden here. So that's another land. This land I showed you earlier is my football land, inspired by one of my students. You know who you are. He's now in the 3rd grade. My football land has a big football house with a slide and a pool and a Ferris wheel made out of football helmets and another house, 2 houses made out of footballs that are really tiny because they're in the back. So there's 3 ideas of lands. Now I want you to think for just a second. Put 2 fingers on your brain. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. I want you to think. Imagine you just walked into your land. What do you see? Keep thinking. You turn to your left. Maybe you see something really big because it's right in front of your picture. What is it? Maybe you have a candy cane forest. Maybe you have I don't know what your dream is. You can have anything in your land you want to. You can make a candy land. You can make a video game land. You can make a football land like Miss Armstrong. You can make maybe you want to live in a big city. You can make a city. Maybe you want to live by the beach or by the water or have a big pool. That's up to you. Whatever you want in your land, you can create it. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to just brainstorm for a little bit. So in order to brainstorm, here's what we're going to do. Miss Armstrong did a brainstorm on this paper I'm going to show you. This is something called a web. This was some ideas I had last time I did my Dreamland, and this time I want to make something different. I think this year I'm going to do a Christmas land. If you don't celebrate Christmas, that's totally fine. You can do any of the lands we talked about. Your land should be about you. But Miss Armstrong, this year, I already have my Christmas tree set up over here. I am ready for Christmas. I'm going to make a Christmas land. So the first thing I want you to do is draw a circle in your land and write Dreamland. So I'm going to do that too. On my blank piece of paper, I'm going to draw a circle. We are going to do something called a web. And I'm going to write Dreamland. And it is time for us to dream. Before we can put those techniques in our artwork, we have to imagine what we want in our land. So I wrote Dreamland, D-R-E-A-M-L-A-N-D. And in order to create a web, what you need are lines. So in this Dreamland, I need to think of some things that I want. So I'm going to draw some lines. In my Christmas Dreamland, and remember, you don't have to copy my Dreamland. You can do whatever Dreamland you want. In my Dreamland, I'm definitely going to want a Christmas tree. So I'm going to write Christmas tree. I wrote Xmas tree. And I'm going to make it a circle. And this is important in a web because your Christmas tree now becomes another topic. So on my Christmas tree, I can have some other things, right? And I'll think about those things in a minute. What else do I want in my land? Maybe I think I do want a candy cane forest. So I'm going to write candy cane forest. So I will make this part of my web. Maybe in my candy cane forest, I also want some marshmallows. Maybe I want some hot cocoa coming from the trees. Maybe in my Dreamland, I also want some people caroling. Caroling is singing. So I don't know how to spell that. So I'm going to try my best. Maybe I want snow. Miss Armstrong loves snow. We know that. So I'm going to write snow. Maybe also I want some snowflakes. So I'm going to write snowflakes. What else do I want? I hope you're thinking about what you want in your Dreamland, and you can be thinking with me and writing with me. What else do I want? Well, let's come back to my Christmas tree. What else do I want on my Christmas tree? I think I want some, whoops. I want a star at the top. I want a really bright star. I want some ornaments. What else do I want? I want presents under the tree. Maybe I want some presents. Maybe in my Dreamland, I want a place for people to donate gifts for people who don't have gifts. So I might have a donation station. And it's where people maybe can come and help give gifts to other people. So I'm going to have a donation station in my Dreamland. What else do I want in my Dreamland? I know it's all about me, and your Dreamland's all about you. So maybe you want a Christmas land too, and it looks completely different than Miss Armstrong. Maybe you want a summery spring land. Maybe you don't like the cold and you want to be at the beach. You make your land how you want it. What else do I want? I'm going to try and think of more ideas. I want lots of trees. So I want Christmas trees, but I also want lots of other trees. So I'm going to write trees. What else? I think I'm going to maybe make a house. Ooh, I'm going to make a gingerbread house. So gingerbread house. And maybe on my gingerbread house, I want a chimney. Maybe I want, what else can my gingerbread house have? Maybe lots of icing. Maybe it's a house that can be eaten. Maybe it's made out of candy. Okay, so I'm gonna stop here because I think I have a good long list. And this is my dream. So we are almost done for this art lesson. If you have your Dreamland and you have, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I have 15 ideas. If you have 15 ideas, I think you have a lot of ideas. You can maybe think of 20 too if you want to challenge yourself. The more ideas you have, the next part, it becomes super duper easy. So here's what we're going to do. If you need more time to think, go ahead and press pause. If you're ready to start on the next part, go ahead and flip. Okay. Now on the back of your paper, what you're going to do is make a rough draft. And this will be all we do for today. We are going to make our final drawing. So you could either make your rough draft on another piece of paper, or you can just use the same paper. Oh, we were using 2 pieces of paper. Okay. So however many papers you need, go ahead and use them. We are going to use a different paper next time to make our final drawing. That takes a long time, so we're going to save that for after break. I won't see you guys till after the winter break. Right now, we're just going to practice. So what I want you to do is I want you to practice some of those. Where did my piece of paper go with our skills? So where did it go? Is Armstrong. So our 4 techniques that we learned, we are going to practice those by adding all of the things that we put on our Dreamland brainstorm web. So this is where we're really going to practice how do we create space or depth in an artwork. So here's an example. If I want to choose something from my list, let's say a tree or a Christmas tree, I want to make sure that I'm practicing my techniques. So here's what I want to do. I want to first choose something. I chose a tree. And now I'm going to choose one of my techniques. I'm going to choose size first. So in the front of my Dreamland, I would like a very big tree. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my tree. Wow, that is very big. Big, big tree. Now in order to show size, I need to draw another tree. I want to draw a tree that looks like it's farther away. Is it going to be bigger or smaller? Smaller. So in the back of my picture, I'm going to draw a smaller tree. So I already know that I've added size and I've practiced size. So I can say, check in my head, I practiced size. I want to practice another one of my techniques, drawing a tree. So I'm going to try detail. I know that the object in the front, based on our drawing we did, the object in the front has what? More or less detail? So this fish that's super close to us, he has more or less detail than this fish. He has more detail. So on my tree in the front, I'm going to add more detail. I want you to think of what you can add in your artwork. Maybe you are drawing Sonic the Hedgehog. Your Sonic in the front better have more detail than the Sonic in the back. So I'm going to add some circles. Maybe I'll add some little leaves or something that looks like pine needles. Add some detail on this tree. I know that this is just a rough draft, so I'm not making it perfect. I'm just practicing to see what I want to make for my final drawing. So this is just my practice drawing. If it's not perfect, I can go ahead and erase it. If you wanted to use your color pencils for this part, you can. I'll actually do that too and show you. Now my tree in the background, maybe it has a little bit of pine needles, but there's going to be way less detail. So now I'm showing detail. If you wanted to show value and color and show that something is closer versus farther away, on this piece of paper, I actually did it with blue. The mountain in the front has what? Brighter blue or faded blue? Brighter blue. And the mountain in the back has less, it's not as bright, it's faded. So on this Christmas tree in the front, I might add some dark green to start adding some bright value. I'm not going to do all of it, but you can see maybe in the back tree, it's going to be a lighter value. So I'm not going to push as hard on my pencil. I want it to be light green, harder to see. So I'm going to practice making different values using value and color. Okay, and the last thing I haven't tried is overlapping. So I'm gonna choose something from my brainstorm web to practice overlapping. I am going to practice with my candy cane forest. So I'm gonna use my red color pencil. And how can I practice overlapping? So I'm gonna first do one candy cane in part of my forest. Wow, that does not really look like a candy cane. I'm gonna stay strong because we all make mistakes. And I'm just gonna give my candy cane some stripes. I know that this candy cane is big and really close to us, so it can have a lot of detail. Oh yeah. Bright, bright, bright stripes. It's a little messy, but that's okay. There's my candy cane. Now, if I want to show overlapping and I want to show that something is behind this candy cane, what do I need to do? I need to draw it, only part of it, so we can see. So maybe, and I know this candy cane is going to be smaller because it's behind, so I can even practice drawing a candy cane behind. And maybe this candy cane goes all the way to the ground. Now we know that this candy cane is behind the first candy cane because you can't see the middle of it. It's hard to see. So I have practiced, and then I could also add some stripes. So today your goal is to, one, make sure that you get, here it is, all 4 of your techniques done on this first paper, on one paper. This is what we're gonna do today. If you need to go back to the beginning of the video, that's okay. Step 2, I want you to create a Dreamland web. This is going to be your Dreamland. You did not copy Miss Armstrong. I want you to create what is your craziest dreams. I want you to think, what would you draw in your most crazy Dreamland? And step 3, I want you to practice each of your techniques on your paper. And once you practice them, you can go ahead and fill it in. So I know I wanted to create a gingerbread house. Maybe I'll draw that in. I know I wanted a chimney. What else did I want? I wanted some snowflakes. Maybe I have to practice drawing my snowflakes. And you can have fun drawing on here. Remember, we won't create the final artwork until next time. Once I know I practice each thing, I'm gonna put a check mark. So let's see. I practice size because this tree is bigger than this tree. That's farther away. So I could just put a little check mark next to size. I practiced that one. Number 2, overlapping. I just practiced that with my candy canes. So I'm gonna put check. Value and color. We practiced this by making our front tree really, really bright and our back tree really faded. And the same thing with the candy cane, bright in the big candy cane in the front and faded in the one in the back. So I'm gonna put check. And detail. I added way more detail. I can even add some more details on my tree in the front. Way more details in the front. And I put way less details in the back. Maybe you can't even see the red in the back because it's so much more faded. So I'm gonna put a check mark. Once you practice all 4 of these and you made your rough draft drawing and your Dreamland web, you are totally done for today. Next time I see you, we will create our final Dreamland drawing together. I cannot wait. I hope you guys had fun today, and I'll see you next time.